I think the very existence of uncertainty here at the interaction of two different laws will have a chilling effect on people's confidence in speaking out. If people think they might face 2 years in jail, they're not going to get extended legal advice. They just want to know that they can speak out and reveal children being sexually abused, people being maltreated. Doctors shouldn't have to call their lawyers first if they witness that sort of treatment. So this has a chilling effect. It's exactly why we moved amendments to actually allow the media, the Commonwealth Ombudsman, some sort of oversight for these detention centre facilities, so that you're not simply putting all of the onus on health workers, other workers in those facilities. We need some transparency and scrutiny here, and I do agree with you, Richard, that the government has utterly resisted that to date, and it's to great shame. Australian taxpayer dollars are being spent on keeping these facilities open. The atrocities that are perpetrated in those facilities, people have a right to know, and I think if we knew more about what was going on inside them, people would be horrified and they would say that's not the Australian way.
It's not right to gang up on the government here. Just read the legislation. The legislation says if it's protected information and you're a designated person, you can't reveal that information. That is not overridden by whistleblower protection. It is absolutely not. It is the same obligation that goes to federal police people. It's the same obligation that goes to ASIO people, and it is very explicitly not overridden by. It is. The government is briefing notes. I don't know if you've read the legislation, Richard, but it is very clear that whistleblower legislation does not allow you to go to a journalist. Well, and I'm not even saying people should necessarily be allowed to go to a journalist, but they shouldn't face 2 years in jail for doing so.
It's just wrong. It went through the Senate inquiry. It was debated at length. There is a unanimous Senate report, which, as I say, has Sarah Hanson's young signature on it. We wrote to the government asking exactly these questions. I have a letter from the minister giving precisely the assurances that you're now saying is not right.
It's not in the legislation, Richard. You've just got to read the legislation.
And the legislation makes it clear that it is to be read in terms, subject to all the other federal legislation which exists, which the Public Interest Disclosure Act is one. But listen, it shouldn't be me who's coming out here and defending this. We ought to be hearing from the government. If you're a doctor, that's who you actually want to hear from.
Right. Can I just... you're basically saying that the government got this right.
Oh, what I'm saying is that the government has a role to be out there and giving clarity and certainty.
But you're saying that the government got this right, that the legislation is appropriate and that you have all the restrictions you want.
I do actually think that the doctors have got it wrong here. That's my understanding.
Okay. So the government's got it right?
Well, maybe, but the point is that we ought to hear the government out there now giving a sense of security to everybody that they have a right to speak out.
Isn't that what you're doing on their behalf?
Oh, and which is not good enough. It'd be much better if the government were here doing it or elsewhere.